Hello, everybody. Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to another episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Walker. It is my pleasure to be with you as always. Hey, I want to first off thank our guests from last week, both Katie and Pete, who came on the show and talked about treating injuries, personal injuries, and then went into some sports training and some sports physical therapy, regular physical therapy. Then we got into running and injury prevention and how to best train for marathons. And the episode was all over the place with good information. So if you haven't heard it, I highly suggest that you go back and take a listen. There's a lot of very pertinent information for people who are running, especially marathon runners, as we are in the fall and we are in full-blown fall marathon season. Check it out. You will not be disappointed. Like I said, we are in full-blown fall marathon season. A lot of the world marathon majors are going on right now. The London Marathon, it just concluded, just wrapped up last week. So they are done. The ballot box is open for the London Marathon. So if you want to throw your name in the ring and see if you can't luck out and get a spot, you need to do that right now. Also, keep in mind that next year, London is being run back in the spring where it used to be. It is no longer going to be a fall race. It's going to be back in the spring. I believe they run in April now of 2023. So just stuff to keep in mind. Next up, there is the Chicago Marathon. That's coming right up with London and Berlin behind us. We've got Chicago and New York coming up. And then, of course, we are heading off to Boston in April. As you know, if you heard the show last week, when one door closes, another one opens. Yours truly got accepted for a charity bib to the Boston Marathon. Super excited. We're going to be talking about that in the near future. And of course, I am going to have to ask maybe for a little bit of your help, should you feel so inclined, though we're going to get to that later. But yes, Boston is in my future. It's in the future of this podcast, something we're going to be able to cover in person. And I'm super excited. Something else that I am super excited about. A few months ago, we had an interview with Dave Borchert. He is the race director for the Garmin Kansas City Marathon, that is coming right up. In that episode, you heard us just kind of spitballing ideas. Just as we were recording, we were talking about what we can do to kind of help the runners who are at the back of the pack. What can we do to help the people who are getting the most out of their registration dollar by not being done, immediately and not being done within the first, few hours of the race. And Dave invited us to come to the finish line to cheer on the quote unquote back of the pack runners. Great idea. He's reached back out to us. We are in. We are taking over the finish line for the Garmin Kansas City Marathon to get the people in through like the last hour and a half of the race. The people who are trugging along, I just made up a word, trugging, who are chugging along, doing that full marathon, who are coming in late. We're going to be there to cheer them on. I want to invite everyone to join us. If you are listening to this episode, please come join us at the finish line, probably around 11 a.m. To about 12:30, maybe even 1 o'clock, to get those people down the finishing line or down the finishing stretch, through the finishing chute and across that finish line. I want you guys to join us. I will be there. Katie, who produces the show, will be there. Our kids will be there. If you will let us know that you're coming, we will make sure you have a shirt waiting for you, a back of the pack shirt. Let's blow it up for those people who are trying to get to the end, trying to cross that finish line. So we got that coming up. I can't wait for that. You'll see more information about that on Facebook. But Saturday, October 15th, down at the Nelson Atkins Art Museum around 11 o'clock, we are taking over that finish line and we are going to get those people across. So please join us. As for now, we recorded a few days ago an interview with someone that you might be familiar with, although you didn't know you were familiar with them. So we're going to kick it over to that interview right now. All right, everyone, we have a very special guest on with us tonight. This is Andrew. Now, you probably don't know him as Andrew. You probably wouldn't recognize him if you saw him in a police lineup, but this is the KC Cosplay Runner. So I guarantee you have seen him at races that you have been at. So I know this person as, let's see, we've got the Incredible Hulk. I know I saw Bruno out there. Pretty sure I've seen the Statue of Liberty. I'm here to tell you all about it. This is Andrew. Welcome to the podcast, I guess we should say. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you.
You bet.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, absolutely. So I every time I see you at a race, I think, wow, look at that guy. He takes his running costume so seriously. And little did I know there was actually a reason for it. So, Andrew, why are you doing all this costumed running? Explain it to the people.
Well, to really answer it, I have to go all the way back probably to middle school or high school. I was a drama kid, a music kid. So I was on stage a fair amount and kind of found an outlet at that time for my creative impulses. But because I didn't end up going to Broadway or anything like that, I kind of had to put it on hold as I pursued other things with my career.
Right.
But then it was right around 10 years ago, I was a course monitor for the Kansas City Marathon. One of the people that I think was running the full marathon did so dressed as one of the badminton birdies. And I thought, wow, that takes commitment. And then a couple of years later, I did the Heartland 39-3 series.
Oh, yeah.
Did Rock the Parkway and kind of this put together 80s outfit, made a tutu and put cow spots on it for running with the cows. And I'm trying to remember what the other one even was, but I got lots of comments. People would even say, man, if that guy can run looking like that, then I can run the way I want to. So it just kind of built from there. I would say by the end of around 2017 or so, any race that I was signed up for, I was doing in a costume, and they were relatively simple. A lot of thrift store kind of stuff, some things from Amazon, some things, from another website or whatever, but I would recycle a lot of them and kind of reuse pieces. And by early 2020, I was really kind of hitting my stride. Like you said, I was the Statue of Liberty, that 2020 Liberty Hospital half marathon. That was the third time I had worn it for that event. And then, of course, the next week would have been the Westport St. Patrick's 4-miler.
Right.
And I had ordered my costume. I had my playlist ready to go. It's another thing is I'm sure people have heard the music that I always play. I had everything ready to go. And then pandemic and the mayor says this and everything shut down. And I was kind of crestfallen at first, but then I realized, you know what? I have the costume. I know the route.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to go and run it by myself. And so I did that, got a few honks, handful of waves, whatever, got home and I was like, yeah, that was really fun. Following week, everything still shut down inside, of course.
Right.
But I have another costume sitting there that I ended up using a year later for the dot to dot, but I had never actually worn it before. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to give this a try. Went out on the trolley trail again, got all kinds of crazy, strange looks, people waving, honking. And within a few weeks of just doing that every week, again, recycling costumes, not really introducing anything brand new. But when people started to stop me and ask to take a picture of me or even with me, I was like, yeah, I think I might be kind of onto something here.
Yeah, for sure.
So around May, I think of 2020 is when I kind of launched it as a little brand of sorts and started to put out events on Facebook to show just a little teaser of where and who I would be without a full reveal. That, don't twist my arm, but I'll never tell exactly. But if you follow on at KC Cosplay Runner on any of the socials, you should be able to figure out a fairly good idea of what I'll be doing. So from there, it started to get a bit expensive, obviously.
Yeah, I'll bet it did.
So I drive Lyft just kind of on the side. And I realized that one, I could make kind of as much money as I wanted to hustle for. And so that is primarily the source of where I buy the costumes. And also I'm using that to pay my race fees. But I have a great aunt, my grandma's sister, who for a while would comment on every post on my personal Facebook page. And sometimes I'm just like, I don't know what you're talking about. Do you really know what Facebook is all about? But one thing that she said one time just kind of started me to thinking. She said, are you doing this for charity?
Right.
And I was like, well, I mean, not really. but it got me thinking, and pretty much any race that is organized is going to have some kind of a charity partner, whatever that might be. So from there, I started to either create a fundraiser, if that was an option, or find a link to donate to the organization. Like one of the last races I did was the Great Plains 10K. It's a benefit for Team Fox. So one time I did it as a fox in a onesie in a very warm September one year. That wasn't maybe the best choice. But then a couple of years ago, when I did that race, I did it as Marty McFly, a Michael J. Fox character. And then a week or two ago, I did it as Alex P. Keaton. And ironically, not very many people thought I was even in a costume because it wasn't like, Daddy Shark or something loud and super flashy. But sometimes it ends up being just for me. Like, I know what I am. I love this music. I love the story that I'm kind of getting to live out a little bit. If my slogan as KC Cosplay Runner is every run is a fun run if you have fun running.
Nice. I like it.
It gives me something to look forward to. I'm kind of a geek about stuff. So I do a little bit of graphic design to create the artwork for the events. I find memes, which is my spiritual gift. I curate the playlist, and sometimes I'll even plan out a route that draws a picture, like candy cane, sailboat. I even made a pair of crosses over in Overland Park the day before Easter earlier this year.
I like it.
It hits a lot of things. It just gives me a creative outlet, but I've really been able to not only direct people to give if that's their inclination, but I've also been making donations myself with the tips that I get on Lyft. So it's a great conversation starter there as well.
Yeah, boy, I'll bet. And yeah, I'm looking, everyone can see, I know you're on all the social medias, but you do also have a website, kccosplayrunner.com. And that's got a ton of pictures of the outfits that you've done. So how do you find the inspiration for each race? Because now I know it was easy for the Fox run, Michael J. Fox, Alex P. Keaton. I get all that, but I mean, some of these costumes, how in the world are you coming up with these ideas?
Honestly, it's different for everything. Sometimes I will just literally scroll through pages on one of the costume websites and be like, ooh, what could I do with that? Or, if there's something that has come out in pop culture, like I really dug the character Eddie Munson on the newest season of Stranger Things. And I was like, I want to be him. And so I found a race that fit. But sometimes I'm just like, I have a lot of songs, or I've heard a lot of songs that are kind of around this theme. Like I'm planning one probably for sometime next year at this point, but there's a lot of songs about like school and classrooms and education. So I'm going to be like, have a globe or a ruler or something, and get a little lanyard with a badge on it, and just kind of go from there. I was a sunflower for Head for the Cure, and that one came pretty easy because there were flowers in the artwork.
Right.
Sometimes I see something, I see like the metal or the theme that they've got, but sometimes I'll be like on my way to a race, got my costume all ready to go, and I think, well, now what if I were this? And so I've already got like next year's costume kind of way back in the back of my mind, starting to plan for it.
Well, that's actually not a bad idea to kind of plan ahead a little bit.
Yeah.
Because some of these are pretty intricate, at least as far as I can see. You definitely are able to put an outfit together.
Yeah. And that is one thing. The expense and the time can add up. Mm-hmm. But in general, I find that if I do a kind of a DIY oriented one, maybe once every 2 or 3 months, that seems to be kind of my sweet spot. If I have too much that I'm trying to plan and create from scratch, then it can get a little bit overwhelming, and I may end up like being sloppy or not being satisfied with it. But another thing I found is that what looks good kind of conceptually you have to translate that to what it's actually going to be like to run for an hour or more.
Right.
Wearing this and having it like bouncing or rubbing against you with every step you take. And I've had a few incidents with that I have learned from, and get lots of silicone based roll on lube or whatever. And always have a base layer. Gotta make sure you have some spandex between you and whatever costume you're wearing.
Absolutely. All right. So that makes, I have to ask, what costume was your biggest regret? Maybe it was just the wrong time of year for it. It fell apart. What was your biggest regret costume?
Well, I mean, there's a couple. I had one that was like an old fashioned jail costume, like the black and white stripe. The playlist was killer and it would have been fine, but I guess I just didn't try it on long enough when I tried it. Like I order the costumes well in advance to make sure that if I do need to trade for a different size or whatever, that I can have time to return it. Apparently I skipped that step because when I had the costume on, bent over to tie my shoes, I heard this rip and I'm like, ugh. Uh-oh. And it was wintertime. So I had a base layer for warmth underneath and it didn't cause any embarrassment, but that one wasn't great. Whenever I have had no other option than to have cotton, that has been an issue. But I would say probably the one that I just don't think I would do quite the same way again was it was based on the jazz Dixie cup pattern. So kind of the purple teal paintbrush thing. And I had a shirt. I actually got it long before I was officially KC Cosplay Runner and did it for Trolley Run one year around the theme of 1989, because that was the year that it started. Had Taylor Swift songs and songs that came out in 1989. But another thing that came out in 1989 was that Dixie cup pattern. Well, I had that shirt, had a pair of purple kind of run tights, and then I got a fedora that was a teal color. But paint on a hat in July with the amount that a bigger guy like me sweats, I ended up having that all over. Had that happen several times where either makeup or something from the costume has either ruined the costume itself. Had that happen to my Irish flag one. Had it happen a little bit with a couple other ones where something has like bled, and I know it. And so if I feel uncomfortable wearing it, then I tend to sock it away and not probably use it that way again.
Yeah, it gets retired after that point for sure. So that brings me to the Statue of Liberty one. So you didn't have any problem? Because it just looks like you're head to toe covered in paint.
That one is actually all one piece toga costume. And then it's like a kind of a foam for the headpiece, and then a plastic torch. And I have found that there are different things that I can carry easily. Other things are not at all. Like carrying an Easter basket one year, I was like, this is messing with my biomechanics. But yeah, the Statue of Liberty one is actually not hard to put on.
Okay.
It can be difficult to get to my hydration belt without completely stopping, because you got to hike it all the way up.
Gotta hike up the toga to get there. And was that one?
And of course, people think I'm like advertising for tax prep.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, I could see how
that
people
particular costume.
Yep, you look like one of the people that should be out there spinning the sign saying, "Come get your taxes done here." Right. Was that one for Ward Parkway 4 on the 4th?
No, that one I did for the Liberty Hospital one. And I think I did it once for the 5K, and then twice I ended up doing it in the half marathon. And both times it was fairly cold. So that's another thing is, when it's cold, I have to make sure I plan for a little bit of bulk under the costume. For on the 4th one time, I wore a plastic or rubber bald eagle mask the whole time.
Okay.
That was not easy. That was a disaster.
Trying to breathe through that. Good grief.
Trying to breathe through it. It was so sweaty.
Then another one I have to ask you about. Looks like a New Year's Day, maybe cold weather, and you decided to go as the New Year's baby?
Absolutely.
How'd that work out for you?
I've done that one's actually pretty easy. I accidentally stepped in like a puddle of ice and mud a little bit. And so there's stuff on my shoe. And then when I pulled the diaper on, I kind of soiled the diaper a little bit, but
just makes it more authentic.
That one's actually pretty easy. Oh yeah. And I have worn that one because I have I think I had like 2 layers on underneath.
Oh, okay. Well, from the little picture I see, it looks good. It almost looks like you're out there in nothing.
That is the idea. Yeah. I also wore that one for a half naked, half dress thing. So like one side of my body was basically the bodysuit flesh tone with just like what you see of a pair of tighty whities that I got at a thrift store. And then I cut a garment in half for the sweatshirt, half a pair of jeans. And I went so far on that one, I even grew out my hair. I am bald, so it is pretty easy to
join the club, brother.
Adjust to whatever wig I want. I've actually got a wig sitting next to me, getting ready for the Kansas City Marathon outfit, and getting some ideas of how to style it. But I shaved half of my head and face right down the middle for that one, and even was able to use an old pair of prop glasses, and surprisingly hard to cut plastic of a pair of glasses to go down the middle. But I used a candle lighter and just melted it and twisted it. And then another thing that has become my friend is just the prosthetic adhesive. Yeah. I do a lot of times I'll have either facial hair or something else that I need to stick onto me. That one was pretty fun.
Yeah. That one definitely sounds like a difficult one. So how many races have you done as the KC Cosplay Runner?
See, I didn't know you'd ask me that question, so I didn't count.
I thought you had them numbered. I thought I saw them numbered somewhere.
I do have them numbered, but that is including all of the solo ones from like March until I think, trying to think when the first one I did was. I want to say it was in August of 2020. It was the first time any of the race companies were starting to get back in, but currently in the 130s.
There we go. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like,
if you count kind of the days before I was officially the KC Cosplay Runner, they're going to be people that remember me from, even like not terribly flamboyant, but they've recognized me. Oh, you were the guy that had that music playing last year or whatever.
Yeah. So explain to me the music aspect of it. So how do you incorporate that into kind of what you're doing? Because I do hear music every time you zoom by me at a race, which is every race. So you go with a different playlist for each race?
I do. If it's a character from like a TV show or a movie, movie is the easiest because I can just play it in the order that it was played. Sometimes I'll do specific to a certain character. Did that with Eddie Munson. I did that a couple of years ago with the Johnny Lawrence character from
Cobra Kai.
Then just Karate Kid. Now there's Cobra Kai to extend it into. Sometimes it's pretty straightforward like that. Sometimes it's around a theme. So I'm not going to tell you exactly, but there may be one around the color black coming up late in November.
Okay.
Just kind of leave that hanging there.
Yeah.
There are websites that you can search like lyrics. So either a title or somewhere in the lyrics, if you want to like look up candy canes or Cupid or whatever, you can find it that way.
Okay.
I do a lot of it that way. Just kind of like get a theme, get a concept, and then just start building it around that. I've got one planned on my wedding anniversary that's going to be like the music that was in the ceremony and then at the reception, kind of a nod to my wife on that.
What costume are you going to wear for that? Are you going to wear a tuxedo?
It was a fairy tale wedding.
Oh, nice.
So we'll just leave it at that.
Okay. All right.
And in addition to the numbered ones, I also about once to 3 times a month, I do what I call a pop-up. So I don't announce it ahead of time, but I do plan it. Obviously, I can't just not plan it.
Right.
That's not who I am. I tried doing a drawing, like Facebook Live the morning of, had narrowed it down to a handful of costumes that were going to work for the weather. but I could not sleep a wink the night before because my brain just couldn't handle not knowing what I was going to do that day. But I do those a couple times, and sometimes it's a way to kind of test out, could this work for a longer run? Like I've done an April Fool. I've done, trying to think of some other ones. I did one for the 21st night of September.
Ah, okay.
I had a shirt with the map of the Earth. I have a wig that's flame, and then the weather provided the wind. So I had Earth, Wind, and Fire.
I like it. All right. Well, so coming up, we've got a rather big race around the Kansas City area. I know you're not going to divulge the outfit, but what hints can we get as kind of a Back of the Pack podcast exclusive towards your costume for the Garmin Kansas City Marathon?
Well, I can tell you that because the slogan associated with the recent years of that event is Run the City of Fountains.
Okay.
I don't have like an official partnership with the City of Fountains Foundation, but they certainly loved my costume last year, which was the Neptune Fountain that's there by Buca de Beppo.
Oh, yeah.
Had a trident, found a wig and beard that was exactly the right color to match the bodysuit, and even had little fabric water spouts coming out the noses of the horses. So it is going to be inspired by one of the more recognizable fountains in the Kansas City area. And there will be some songs that have Missouri in the title of either the song or even the artist.
I like it.
And I've got a wig that I need to figure out how to make it stay in kind of a non-gravity based position. So that is my big project here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I was going to say it's getting rapidly closer, so you're going to have to get that nailed down here pretty soon.
It's all in my brain. I just got to make it happen out in the real world.
And what distance?
Remember that I'm going to take thousands and thousands of steps. I've heard you on the podcast a few times talking about like disappointment of having to change race plans and everything.
Yes.
And I think I've come to realize that a fall half marathon is just not going to happen for me.
Okay.
Because of training in the summer. I'm always either punting on it or doing it at the wrong time. And then I get to like August and September and I'm like, oh, I just can't do it. So again, this year, like I did last year, I'm going to be doing the 10K.
10K. Okay.
I just saw on their website that they have changed the course a little bit. Kind of bummed that it's not going by Loose Park this time, but it's what it is.
After doing Rock the Parkway as many times as I have, I don't ever want to run around Loose Park because the hills at Loose Park, especially during Rock the Parkway, that mile 8 hill, it kills me every time. Every time it gets me.
Yeah. I have found myself dropping to the walk for the first time several times at that place.
Yep. That it gets a lot of people. It has claimed many a runner, that hill at Loose Park. Jeez. All right. Well, so yeah. So
it's almost all downhill from there.
Almost. Yeah. Almost. Well, I'll be doing the 5K just because I have never actually done the Kansas City Marathon 5K. So I'm doing a nice small little race. But yeah, I won't have any cool costumes for me. Just the usual Back of the Pack stuff.
So that actually makes me think of something that, since this will go out to a little bit more audience than I have currently, I would love for anyone that wants to look at the events that I have for the next couple months, look at a race or even a solo run if I don't happen to be doing a race that week. If it seems like something, hey, I think I might have a costume that kind of goes with that, I would love to have other people coordinate. I know there's some people in kind of my new run family that I've started to connect with since they're at all the same races. And there's a couple that are pretty good at the costume game themselves. I know I've posed for some pictures with ones that matched or not, but I would love to have anyone that wants to. I can give more specific information if they reach out through any of the social media, like private message or whatever.
Okay.
You can also get to my on my website. There's a contact link that'll open up an email.
And again, everyone, that is kccosplayRunner.com. And then looks like you've got a busy weekend coming up. You're doing the fall fermentation series, aren't you?
I am. And oh my gosh, if I had to like choose a weekend that I could just stop doing it all, which I'm not, don't worry, but this is going to be killer. And it might be that if I do this series again, you might just have to see them again, because I can't just wear these ones one time. There's a lot going on this weekend.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, you'll be out for the Nighthawk on Saturday morning, Lewisburg Saturday afternoon, and then the one in Martin City, the Oktoberfest, right? On October 2nd on Sunday.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Do you have any like nutrition hints, or how do you deal with having 2 5Ks on the same day, no sleep in between?
Honest goodness,
but not like back to back. Like I did the tunnel to tunnel for the groundhog run in July or August, whatever.
Yeah, August.
And I didn't really know what to do. Like, do I have an extra granola bar? I definitely don't want to have a chocolate milk in between, because you'll see that all over the costume, and that would be good.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't have the answer to that. I have not done a 5K in the morning and another 5K in the afternoon. And that's just not something I have tackled in my running career. So yeah, I don't have a good piece of advice. Now it occurs to me that I mentioned all this is going to air after those races because it's coming right up. But yeah, so everyone needs to go out and look at your calendar, not just listen to me spouting off dates. Because yeah, you're booked. I'm looking at it right now. You are booked every Saturday, at least through October. When do you plan on taking a break?
So that's the thing, is I don't always do a super long run. Like some of them, if it's a recovery week, I know that it's going to be, 30 or 40 minutes, maybe sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I get one that maybe has a shorter playlist possibility, maybe one that's more bulky or awkward, that it might not be as comfortable to do a longer run. But yeah. And sometimes I just, I want to go to a different part of the city than I have. And so the week, so I guess when this airs, it'll be next weekend. I'll be out in Independence along the Little Blue Trace, just kind of hanging out by myself. Some people will see me. Some wild animals will see me. It's all good. I have fun wherever I am. I'm sure there have been many animals that have been like, what is that human doing?
Yeah. Where is that guy going? Why is he in such a hurry? All right. Well, is there anything else you want to throw out to the audience? Again, we've got your website out there. Make sure you go check them out. Check out the calendar. You can find them all over social media. I've got them on Instagram and the Facebook. Where else can people find you? What else can they do for you, my man?
I hate to ask this, but man, if someone could buy me a costume once in a while, that would be so amazing.
I like it.
But short of that, just come up and say hi, take a picture with me. I've got a QR code on I ordered my own race bibs that have just my social and contact information on them. So when someone does take a picture of or with me at an event, then I just kind of flip around. I'm like, all right, take a picture of this too. Make sure you tag me, send me a copy of it or whatever. Because I just love seeing people royally confused or a little tickled when they see me out and about.
Right. Oh, geez. Well, yeah, we'll try and avoid the royal confusion, but yeah, I know I've seen you at all the races. So, and I hope we didn't gloss over too much, but just to reiterate for everyone, you're doing these for the charities that the races are supporting. So money that you raise and awareness all go towards that charity. And so just want to make sure everyone understands.
That's right.
You're out there doing this for a hell of a good reason.
Yeah. And even when it's a solo run, I'll find a cause that's been vetted that has some connection with whatever my costume and theme is for the week. Mm-hmm. So one of the charities that Whitney Houston was fond of, I make a donation to whichever one it is.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, I mean, I appreciate your time. Thank you so very much for joining us here on the podcast. Yeah, we'll have to do this again next year once you get all stocked up on new outfits and costumes.
I have them in planning for at least 12 months out.
Oh my goodness. That is a new level of organization that I certainly do not have.
It is an amazing spreadsheet.
Yeah, I'll bet. And I bet it just gets longer and longer.
I've learned to hide the rows that have gone by. Otherwise, it would get overwhelming.
Yeah, slightly. Well, cool. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
You betcha. Thank you very much for tuning in. I am your host, Kyle Walker. This show is brought to you by KC Sports and is produced by Katie O'Neill. We'll be back next week. Everyone have a great week of training. Hopefully your races went well this week, and we'll see you next time.